Well, I finally went to see Midsommar. Midsommar is a horror film written and directed by Ari Aster. For those of you who don't know who he is the guy who wrote and directed last year's arguably most horrifying, disturbing horror film, Hereditary. Yeah, that if you saw that review I did, that messed me up. But this one, okay, okay. Midsummer is essentially a plot of this poor young woman who loses her family in a tragedy. Boyfriend and his buddies set out on a trip to Sweden to experience a anthropological experience. They're doing it for college. They're doing it to write their thesis for their degrees. She, being a college student, also happens to come along. Boyfriend doesn't want her to be lonely. This is a hard time for her, of course, still grieving. And when they get there, they're greeted warmly by this group of Swedish people. This small commune that's hours away from anything industrial, anything city-like. In the beginning, they feel welcome, they feel honored, but then as the movie continues, things start to show what these people are really about. Apparently, there's every 90 years, there's some kind of a special festival that they experience during the midsummer, where they have to do certain rituals and practices that's been their heritage for, I think, thousands of years. And as that continues, Danny, the girl, the lead protagonist, she's not starting to feel this at all. This eventually leads to really bad things. It really starts to show itself quite early. Some of the other people that came from other parts of the world to experience this commune are like, no, this is over the top. We gotta go. I'm not going to reveal anything. It's spoiler free, even though there's so many things I would love to share. I'm just going to give you the sense I got of it. Here's the sense. The sense I received from this film was that this guy, Ari Aster, definitely has a vision, definitely has an eye. His camera work is impeccable. I saw a lot of the same kind of visuals, cinematography, views, if you can say that I saw in Hereditary. Like, he's a very unique filmmaker, and he knows how to create films that are not only disturbing but are stunningly visually beautiful, which is a weird kind of combination. Based on Hereditary and based on what I saw here, I'm like, well, okay, great. You know how to make movies like this. I would love to see you make something else that's doesn't have so much to do with cults and stuff like that. Because if you saw Hereditary, you knew there was a cult involved. It's kind of the same here, though it takes a different approach. There's not so much of anything regarding the spiritual realm here as much as it just does in a very social and anthropological and cultural and religious setting. I guess the realism of a community still existing like that can be disturbing. I mean, we've all heard of actual cults, like Jim Jones cult back in the 70s and David Koresh in the 90s, Heaven's Gate also. There have been different cults throughout the past century alone that you could tell that the leader of these organizations or little sects were kind of like really all flying off the handle. That's kind of what you get from this movie. You don't really get the demonic presence aspect of it the way you do in Hereditary. That's what made Hereditary scary. This isn't scary. This is just disturbing. And kind of humorous in certain parts. I mean, it depended on the character, and what they were going through. And I liked the spectrum of reactions with the spectrum of different kind of characters and plot points with each character carried. That helped complement the story. It helped complement the movie. It helped complement the flow of the film, and I enjoyed that. Nonetheless, I still seem to be. I can't help but continue to not be able to not think of the way this film in many ways is similar to Hereditary anyway, in its approach, in its presentation. Now, every director has their filming style. Every director has their writing style. So we can see that. I've seen that in many directors. John Carpenter has, I love John Carpenter and his films. There seems to be a similar dynamic that you see in his filmmaking style. The same thing with other directors and writers, Steven Spielberg, other people like that. This is his second feature film. And it's a good story. It's a horror story, but not horror like Hereditary horror. It's more horror like, Wicker Man horror. Remember The Wicker Man? A few years ago, there was a remake of it. The movie came out, I think before I was born or something, maybe in the 70s. But Nicolas Cage starred in the remake. And I went to the movies to see that. And again, there was it involved a cult. It involved a commune. This movie kind of carried that same kind of feel. So, as a horror and coffee film, I'm going to give Midsommar 3 coffee cups. It was good, and I would actually buy it on Blu-ray. This is the beginning of a young director and writer's film career that I hope he continues to move forward with. I'd like to see him do more horror stuff. I'd like to see him do something now that doesn't involve a cult. Okay? We got the cults. He got that down pat. That's good. Good. Awesome. Maybe you could do some more in the future. I like to think that maybe his next film won't involve that. It will involve another aspect of horror that would be pretty cool. But we're just going to have to wait and see. So did you see Midsommar? And did you like it? Talk to me. Comment below and share with me what you think of this summer's Midsommar. It sounds stupid. This is Ralph Perez from Strange Planet. Take care.